Hey everyone, I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Mehmet Ali Sanlıkol, Grammy-nominated composer, multi-instrumentalist, and full-time faculty member at the New England Conservatory. Mehmet is here to show us how to design a composition.
I guess first I'll start talking about this particular piece I chose entitled Palindrome. Because the title itself is based on a structure, and the reason as to why this composition is entitled a palindrome is because it relates to my life story a little bit. And very quickly, the decision, I would like to tell you a little bit about the decision as to why I ended up wanting to compose a piece that was structured similar to a palindrome. And that's because even though I'm originally from Turkey, I grew up in Turkey with classical music, Western classical music, and eventually progressive rock music and jazz music. And I really did not have a lot of exposure and interest in Turkish musics. And so when in 1993 I came to Boston, I actually did not really know anything about musics from the Middle East or all kinds of different Turkish musics. But interestingly enough, after spending 7 years in the United States, I actually ended up strangely finding my way back to my roots, and I rediscovered Turkish music here in Boston, which led to a decade-long study of Turkish music and culture and related musical traditions as well. And frankly, after a very dedicated and focused study of those musics, which again lasted about a decade, when I finally relaunched my career, I kind of wanted to tell this story with a new composition. And I thought that there was a palindrome-like shape to that story. So planning the architecture of a composition, or architectural design of music, is something that I learned from the great Bob Brookmeyer, with whom I studied for 6 years during my master's and doctoral studies at the New England Conservatory between 1998 and 2004. And Brookmeyer, he really loved referring to structural design of composition as architectural design. He was very kind of adamant about that. And I really came to appreciate that over time. As you can see, this is not a perfect palindrome, and that's okay. With composition, I think things happen. You know, you may set out to start, you know, to plan something, and then along the way things may shift a little bit. But I also kind of knew as I was going and starting to design this piece that I did not want it to have both ends of this piece completely identical. I wanted the second half of it slightly shorter, and of course with certain variations. So as you can see, the whole piece is 21 measures long. So this piece is not in 4/4 time, I can tell you that. Otherwise, it would be a very short composition. And I don't think I would be presenting here in that case. But before we go there, let me also talk to you a little bit about the classical Turkish and Sufi Islamic mysticism influences in this piece. As you can see, this is written for a combo, a 6-horn combo that has an added Turkish instrument there, actually several Turkish instruments. The third line from the top indicates ney, Mansur ney, and kaba zurna. The ney is an end-blown reed flute that is very much an emblem of the so-called whirling dervishes in Turkey. And that is an instrument I have learned to play. And then zurna is the other instrument that I doubled on in this recording. The zurna is a double reed instrument, and it's very loud. On the other hand, if you look further down on that page, you'll see that there is an instrument called kudüm, nekare, all the way in the bottom, the percussion lines. And that's basically small kettle drums, which are often used also in Sufi music and or with sticks as opposed to mallets in outdoor ceremonial musics, so-called Janissary band musics in Turkey. And then the one in the very bottom, kös, is basically large kettle drums. So they're kind of the ancestors of the timpani. The big difference between them is that the kös has or uses camel skins, in fact, double-layered camel skins. And so they produce a very strong subwoofer range bass frequencies with attack. Here, I actually did stick with this very particular classical Turkish rhythmic cycle in 32 beats called muhammes. Even though it may appear that I have 4 measures of 8/4, that's actually not the case, because the phrasing of each of those measures, inner measures, are different. And when you listen to the music, you do get a sense of 32 beats, and it's slow as well, as that is the typical vibe, the typical mood, and the typical weight that you get from these kinds of traditional whirling dervish ceremonies and or classical Ottoman Turkish musics. The first section that I'd like us to listen to is going to provide the overall atmosphere, the overall mood that I was trying to establish. Obviously, we have Islamic mysticism. Therefore, there's a lot of spirituality in the very core of this piece. And then there's also the fact that I'm reflecting on my own life. So this is a very reflective piece. So here's the overall mood that I establish as we're entering into letter A, toward the beginning of the piece. This mood then later in the piece slowly grows as this was reflected in the structure PDF. Actually, can we bring that up? As you can see, I also indicated this large buildup with a crescendo sign, and then the crescendo kind of indicating this large buildup, and then so we just heard the music entering letter A with the horns coming in with doublings and so on, and mutes and so on and so forth. Now we're going to kind of begin in the middle of letter C, where now we're at kind of the peak point of the piece with the double reed instrument, all of the horns playing, and there's a lot. The rhythmic cycle is far more dense, and then it'll transition into B prime, which is basically going back to that earlier mood that you just heard. this piece is entitled Palindrome, and it is from my album entitled What's Next? And that album was released in 2014. There you have two snippets out of this long composition that is more or less based on the architectural design is more or less based on a palindrome, reflecting on my own life story.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos in the comment section down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head over to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.